Yeah, huge jump, and then a huge jump in income, and then the ego came, and it's like,
You?
yeah, no, hey, come on, easy. I'm gonna take a drink of beer while you think about your next move there.
So, welcome to the next episode of Over A Pint. This week we have Kelley Skar, who's in town from Calgary. So we're both here at the Over A Reality Conference, so we thought we'd sit down and do an episode. So
Over a pint.
Exactly.
Oh, right,
introduce yourself. Let them know who you are.
Well, as he said, my name is Kelley Skar. I'm a realtor and part owner of Redline Real Estate Group in Calgary, Alberta. I also run a little podcast called Thrive Not Survive, as well as hosting a lot of our events in the Calgary area, and still selling at this point. So,
Perfect.
yeah.
So today we are drinking Lunch Money. It's by the Collective Arts Brewing. It's a local beer to Ontario made in Hamilton. So we're going to give this a shot and see how it is today.
I like the can. That's cool.
Yeah.
Collective Arts.
Woo! A lot of good artists in Hamilton.
Apparently.
Yeah.
We're going to find out if they make good beer, too.
Yeah.
Ooh, look at that. Get the can in there. Beauty.
So how long have you been in real estate?
I just crested my 10th year. Cheers. Thank you, brother.
Thanks for coming out.
Hey, that's not bad.
Yeah, I'll take that.
I like that. Nice and light.
Yeah.
Looks like a lager, but it's got some taste to it, a little bit of bite.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah, man, I've been in real estate now just over 10 years. Got started in August of 2007 was when I got licensed. Went full-time in April of 2008. My wife was pregnant, 4 months pregnant with our twins. So
Were your first two?
Yeah, our only two. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we only have
For some
two.
reason I
But
thought you had three.
yeah, so got started in the business like feet to the fire. Left a 6-figure a year job that was paying well on time every 2 weeks, and left all of that to pursue my dream of selling real estate.
How long was it your dream before you did it?
It actually really wasn't.
It was a good week and a half.
Oh yeah. I don't know. It's funny. My dad, when I told him I got my real estate license, and he's like, do you want me to pay for some psychiatric help for you? So my dad was a realtor for 23 years. My mom was in real estate for 5 years. My sister-in-law is a realtor in Edmonton. She's been licensed for I think 20 years now. And you would think that it was kind of in the family, in the blood, and it was a natural progression towards that. But quite honestly, it was something that I kind of fell into. I wanted to get out. I was a welder for like 10 years. I was in the trades. And I was getting to a point where I didn't like going to work anymore, man. Like the guys that I was working with they were angry all the time. They were mad. They hated their lives. They hated their jobs. They hated their wives. Right, all they would do is complain, and on top of that, I kept getting hurt. And so the last time I got hurt, I wound up in the office on light duty, they call it. Yeah. I hurt my back, and so it's getting dressed up in the khakis and the nice button-up shirt, and coming into work at 8 o'clock every day and leaving at 3:30, but still getting paid this ridiculous wage. And I milked that for as long as I possibly could, and wound up getting my real estate license while I was still on light duty. I got to a point where I was about to come off of light duty, and then I really had to hustle and start making some decisions. So that was in I think that was in probably January or February of 2008 when I came off of light duty, went back onto the shop floor. And at that point, downsizing had begun, the oil started to drop out of the market, and my boss and I did not get along. So my days were numbered, and I decided to go out on my own terms as opposed to theirs, and so I ended up quitting in April and going full time. So
how did you do your first year?
Set a goal of 8 transactions, so I got into the business full time. In April, decided that I wanted to do a deal a month. I felt like I was busy enough to go full time at that point, so that's the whole reason why I quit. So end of 2008, hit the goal.
Nice.
Deal a month, did 8 transactions that first year, rookie of the year in my office, believe it or not, with 8 deals. most agents are only doing 6 or 7 transactions, man, right? So, to come out with 8 transactions under my belt and now full time in this business, I think my first year I made, I don't know, 60, 70 grand, something like that.
Right around where I was my first year too.
Yeah, and then, the next year at the end of 2008, I decided that I was going to start planning and figuring out, okay, where am I going to take this in 2009? And keep in mind that the market had started to tank in 2008. That's when the crash happened the year previous in the US. And so our market started to be affected by it. And we went into this really weird period in 2009 where the market really hadn't been affected yet, but people were still buying real estate. And so I wound up tripling the amount of business that I did in 2009, or tripling the amount from 2008 into 2009. My plan was to double. And so I wound up tripling, and 2010, 2011, that's when the market was affected, but I stayed flat. I didn't grow, but I didn't lose any business either, right?
Yeah.
So 2010, 2011, did 24 transactions each in those 2 years. And then 2012 was my big breakout year, and I wound up with 42 transactions in that.
Big jump.
Yeah, huge jump. And then a huge jump in income, and then the ego came, and it's like,
You?
yeah, no, hey, come on, easy. I'm going to take a drink of beer while you think about your next move there.
So, you're obviously big into content now.
Yeah.
When you started making that 10 and 20 deals a year, what were you doing then to get business?
So back then it was just real old school shit, man. The door knocking, which I abhor. I hate it. The open houses, which I got really, really good at. So our kids were born in September, and I took some time to be with them for a couple of months, and then 2009 it was like full bore. I was open housing just about every single weekend, and I was seeing some major success with it. I continued to pick new clients up, and I still have some of those clients today. Like, they're still purchasing property through me from almost 10 years ago now, 8 years ago, 9 years ago. So I was doing something right, and then 2010 was the year that I made the shift and getting away from doing those things, that door knocking, those open houses, and started to focus on my digital content strategy. And that was 2010, 2011, and so it was creating videos, it was writing the blog posts, it was being really active on Twitter. At the time, one of the bigger social networks out there, Facebook, obviously. Creating that content, putting it on the blog, pushing it out to the channels. Next thing you know, I started to get recognized by people. People started asking me to speak at conferences, talking about video and how I was using it in my business practice, and things just kind of stayed flat in those 2 years because I wasn't doing the things that I was doing in 2009 to generate the business. But by 2012, all of the work that I put in those 2 years started to pay off, and I'm absolutely convinced that's where my breakthrough happened, was because of the content that I was creating. It was all that long form stuff, right? You're looking at, and this is where I think your audience can maybe gain some insight here. The problem with realtors today, when they're starting to develop their content strategy, they don't realize that content digital marketing is a long form type play, right? This is like, we're talking a year, 2 years where you might start to see some business. Whereas, the easy fix would be to start running some Google ads or some Facebook ads to generate those, cold leads where you're picking up the phone and it's a 6-month incubation period. Yes, you're going to start turning over business in a quicker pace, probably generating those leads, but don't forget that long form stuff will live forever online. Right, and that's what a lot of realtors, they think it's just a quick buck, right? I'm just going to create this content, somebody's going to find it, they're going to give me a call. Sorry, it's not going to happen that way. It really doesn't.
Yeah, that's often what we talk about with a lot of our clients too, because we do a lot of that cold lead gen for them. We're this is part of a strategy. You still need long term. You want that because you turn these ads off. As soon as those ads are off, leads are not coming in anymore.
Yeah,
I think that's a big problem. Is you want those ones that you put a post up a year ago, it still gets you leads today.
Yeah.
If you have an ad that you're just paying for, the second you turn off the ad, it's done.
Yeah. And so what I would say about the content strategy that I had and the way that we're doing it now, The big difference is that there's a lot more tools out there. There's a lot more pieces of technology that we can incorporate into our business, and our line of thinking. And I say our because this is the type of business model that we're doing from the brokerage level and how we're coaching it down to our agents as well. So it's this whole idea, and this is something that you and I talked about back in 2015 when we're doing the Over A Emerge circuit there, and it was the idea of creating a media company. Right, and I've been kind of talked about this on the podcast. I've written content around it. I've written emails about this sort of thing, and I think where people can really start to benefit from this. And I'm not talking about going out and starting the next NBC or CBS or Fox News or ESPN. Like, I'm talking about utilizing pieces of content and blasting it out to your network, to your social network, utilizing different platforms. So some of the pieces of media company would be starting a podcast, doing your email marketing, which I just did a podcast on here the other day. So email marketing was a big part of it. Video is a huge piece of it, right? So whether it's that short form content where you're doing Instagram stories or Facebook stories, or you're on Snapchat or whatever, that's part of that component, as well as the long form type content like what we're doing right now. Right, and then you're putting that, like, the talking head video blog is kind of out of style now. Sorry guys, if you're doing the talking head style video blog,
throw a beer into it.
Yeah, throw a beer into it. I mean, this is cool, man. Like this interview format, right? So as an agent, think about it from that perspective. You sit down, you have a beer show like this, and you're interviewing local people in your market that have really cool businesses that you want to help highlight. Yeah. Right, and so now you get known as this community booster, this person that is really involved in the business community, and you're pushing that content out for them, and you're not charging them anything for it.
Yeah.
Right.
A great example of that, and I know you know her as well, Judy Weiniger from New Jersey.
Yeah.
So
Judy's
you guys,
a friend.
Yeah. If you guys don't know her, look her up on YouTube, and there's actually a really good example of a pizza shop. Yeah. That she did it for. Like, she's not even in the video. Like, her branding's in it, but thousands of views. Like, it's a great example of effective content marketing to me.
It really is. And people, the biggest, and this is the last 8 years that I've been speaking on video, the number one argument that people have for not doing video is that I'm not very good in front of the camera. And my response to that has always been, if you suck in real life, you're going to suck on video.
It's true.
So get over it, right? Get over yourself. Yeah. And so with that, I mean, there are many different styles of video out there. You don't have to be the star all the time. And that, I love Judy. Judy interviewed me on our podcast on how to start a podcast, right? And she's a great example of someone that is awesome on video. She's very well spoken, but at the end of the day, she doesn't need to be the center of attention. She wants her community to be the center of attention, and through that, people will find her because her branding is part of the video and not her talking head, right? Introducing the pizza shop guy, right? Maybe she's done the voiceover or whatever. I mean, at the end of the day, she doesn't necessarily have to be the star. She's making her community the star.
When you were, like, especially when you're getting started with the content marketing, because this is one issue that a lot of agents end up with, and it's not even specific to content marketing. It's same with, like, even door knocking to some degree, or farming a neighborhood where it takes a long time to pay off.
Yeah.
With your online marketing, did you have, like, that moment where you're like, holy shit, this works?
Yeah, it was. Well, I can tell you, at the end of 2011, that was a freaking tough year, dude. Like, it was a tough year. We had some massive spikes in income and some really big lows. Like, and I'm talking about in May, I had a $50,000 month. And for people that are maybe watching this that aren't in real estate, you're thinking, holy shit, this guy made 50 grand in 1 month. That was like 7 deals that closed in 1 month. I didn't have a closing again until September. Yeah. So think about going to your job and you had this great month and you made all of this money, and then you didn't get paid again until September of that year.
Yeah. Like it's that, like you take that whole 50 home either.
That's right. You got to pay taxes out of that. You've got to business expenses out of that. So we had these really big peaks and valleys, and at the end of the year, my sister-in-law was dating this guy who was a mechanic, and he was up in Fort McMurray, which is in northern Alberta, making 30 grand a month as a mechanic, and he's pulling that out of Fort Mac, and my wife looks at me and she's like, you need to go up to Fort Mac. I'm like, there's no way I'm going up to Fort Mac. It's just not going to happen, right? So we hammered it out, and I convinced her to give me until the end of the first quarter of 2012. And I just told her, I've set a goal for myself. I want to do 9 transactions in that first quarter. So that's 3 deals a month. If I hit that, I'm not going back to welding. I just won't, because we're off to the races at that point. Well, I hit like 12 or 15 or something like that by the end of the first quarter. And then we were off to the races, right? And then that's, it wasn't so much the ego that came into play, but it was, I'm starting to see the success. How do I get more?
Yeah.
Right? How do I do more transactions? And this is what I'm talking about tomorrow at the reality conference is, should I start a team? I started thinking at that moment, because I was seeing all of this success, that I needed to clone myself in order to do more transactions. Well, how do I do that? Well, I go out and find a buyer's agent, right? And I build a team.
That was your first hire?
So so at the end of 2012, I had decided at the beginning of the year that I was going to get a Boomtown site, because I had heard about it at the Krebs Forecast conference. Another agent was talking about it to Chris Smith, and I'll never forget this. The guy that was talking about it, I looked at him, I go, Cliff, you're looking at spending $4,000 a month on a website, dude. And at this point, we were both Uber Tour, paying like $35 a month or something, and just creating content and throwing it on that website. And he looks at me dead in the face. He goes, Kelley, that website's going to make me $250,000 this year. And I was like, okay, holy crap.
Now I got to get serious.
No, I got to get serious. And, keep in mind, this is in January. I didn't really have 2 dimes to rub together. Wife and I just got finished, me convincing her that I'm not going to go back to welding. And here I am thinking about spending $3,000 US a month on a freaking website to generate more leads for myself, right? So that started at the end of 2012. I was planning throughout the year, how am I going to make this work? What does this look like? And I came at it from completely the wrong place, and that was chasing the dollar. It had, in building a team, it has absolutely nothing to do with that.
And do you have a team with you now?
No. So
you've gone back. So you obviously opened a brokerage, and you've done a lot there.
Yeah.
So at what point did you decide I want to be a single agent again, as opposed to a team?
Well, that in 2015, I still had the team. So I started formed the team in 2013. Things were okay, but they weren't where they needed to be. Like, we were generating 400 and some odd leads per month. This is when Google ads were still relatively cheap, like even in 2013. So we're generating a fair amount of leads. I just had the wrong people. They just didn't know how to close on the phone. They couldn't get into an appointment to save their lives. And I was coming at it from this money hungry perspective where, listen, I'm putting out like 4 G's a month. Like, we got to close, right? And it isn't just going to be me that closes. Like, I don't want to be just the only one to pay for the site. Like, everybody's got to kick in here, right? And so I went to this conference in 2013. I came home, I hired a coach. 3 coaching sessions in, the coach is like, you need mission, vision, value statement. You've got to figure out where you're coming from with respect to this team. You're coming at it from the wrong perspective. You need to tear it down and then rebuild. And so we put together an ICA agreement. I sat down with the agents that I had. I put the ICA agreement in front of them. They looked at it. They were like, one of them said, no, she quit right there on the spot. The other 2, I gave 24 hours, have a look at it. By 8 o'clock that night, I called them both and said, look, I'm just pulling the team apart. I'm going to rebuild from the ground up. So, you guys aren't a part of that. So I had the team end of 2013, 2014, 2015. At the end of 2015, I merged my team with Redline Real Estate Group's team. Yeah. And then Darren Langell and I, my business partner, became kind of co-team leaders, so to speak, for the entire year of 2016. At the end of 16, we decided that the business model wasn't the one that we were going to continue to pursue. So by, I think, February of 2017, we had dismantled the team. The agent stayed with us at the brokerage, but we shifted gears and went in a completely different direction with respect to the model.
Yeah, because now you're more focused on like high-end marketing.
Yeah.
And that's how you support your agents?
Yeah, so we're, the great thing is we haven't made one outbound recruiting phone call yet, because we followed this philosophy of media company first, right? Driving the content, creating value, pushing that value out to the agent where they're seeing it on a level that they've never seen it before. These, like our brokerage is willing to put on a free event and invite those agents out and bring in people from our network from across North America. Like Christoph Chu is one of our guests You've been one of the speakers at our events, right? Jeff Thibodeau, our digital marketing strategist for Redline, he also opened up a Redline in Brantford, regular appearance on at our events as well. So just bringing tremendous value to these agents that don't typically get that kind of value from their current brokerage, right? And so, we started the year in 2017 with 6 agents. I think we just crested 60 now. So we've grown like 10x, which is awesome. And we've done that without making a recruiting phone call.
So it's similar to kind of how you built your real estate business when it started exploding.
That's right. Absolutely. So, we took this ideology of this media company, and this is exactly what we're instructing our agents on, right? Some of our agents are really adopting it. They've, one of our agents has started a podcast. In fact, I think he may have had the podcast before. He wants to, I put this basically putting a test group together. Right now I do all the content marketing for the brokerage, and that includes attraction of agents as well as writing the content on behalf of our agents that gets pushed out to their spheres, so their past clients. So I write all of that content. So what I decided to do is I decided to pull my list out of the master list, so just focusing on my database, and I decided to go in a different direction where I could be a lot more personal. For example, I wrote an email yesterday and scheduled it for send out last night at 11:45. There's no freaking way I was going to sit in an airport and hammer out an email, right? Yeah. I had already pre-scheduled this email to go out, and the email was, sorry, if you're on my list and you're watching this, you're probably not, but if you are, I'm sorry, I didn't send it from the airport. I sent it from my office in my home, right? So I scheduled it out for 11:45, and it went out, and it was like, I'm sitting in the airport, I had some time, I thought I put this together, and I'm getting really deep and really personal with my sphere. And one of the things that I said on the podcast yesterday was, think about it like this. You're out showing these clients every house under the sun. You were getting to know these people intimately. They are also getting to know you, right? I got my clients, wired during football season not to call me on a Sunday between 11 and 2 if the Packers were playing. Right?
Well, you do need to be consoled.
Yeah, sometimes I do, especially last season, right? But my clients would know, like, okay, so can we go out showing? Can we go out and look at houses this weekend? Yeah, no problem. When do you want to go? Well, Sunday at 11 o'clock. Hey, Packers are playing. Oh, shit, sorry, man. How about 2:30? Yep, no problem, done. Yeah. Right? Send me the list. I'll make the... So, you get to know these people intimately, and the transaction ends, you hand them their gift basket and their nice gift and give them the keys and say congratulations, and then you send them out this shitty templated email with this crappy content, right? And now you've gone from this guy that's like super personable and you're intimate in this relationship to this fucking bot, right? You're just this robot now, and it's this crappy content that keeps getting pushed out. Well,
if anything goes at all.
If anything goes at all, exactly right. And so we coach our agents around a couple of different things, and just with email marketing alone, our agents at our brokerage are hitting their clients 36 times a year just with email.
Yeah.
And they don't have to do anything. We do it all for them, right? So that's a big part of it. So something that I've done is I've pulled my list out. I've gotten really personal with them. I'm going super deep, just like I was when I was showing them property. And there isn't any major return on investment to this point where I've had somebody email me and say, Kelley, this really resonated. I'm going to refer you to my friend, or hey, I want to go back out. Like, that hasn't happened yet. I'm sure that it's going to happen, but here's what has happened. I am creating conversations with people that I haven't talked to in years. Yeah. The content that I'm sending them is so compelling that they are returning the email back, and I never got that with the templated crap that I was sending out years ago, and even with the stuff that I was sending out now on behalf of the brokerage. I wasn't getting any of that, because you have to understand, when I write that content, it has to be for everybody, right? Including our CEO, Darren. When Darren does the market update, I have to send it out knowing full well that his clients are going to receive that email. So I can't type out the email saying, our CEO, Darren Langell, just did this great blah, 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 because now he's talking about himself in the third person, and his clients are going to look at this and go, what the F?
Who is this guy?
Who is this guy? Mr. Ego, Mr. CEO?
I'm just going to be, Andrew Foliato. Andrew Foliato had to say that today.
That's right, yeah.
Go in third person from here on out.
Yeah, exactly. So it's it's one of those things where you're now I'm pulling those people out, and I'm doing a test group with 5 of our agents. So I sent out an email or a message on Slack today. I said, hey, look, this is what I'm looking at doing. If you guys are interested in jumping on board, here's what I need you to do. 3 things. The first thing is listen to the podcast from yesterday. Second thing is tell me what the most intriguing part of that podcast was and what it meant to you. And number 3, you've got to let me know whether you're in or not. And so the first 5 people that got back to me are now part of this test group. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull their databases out of the full Redline database, and then I'm going to sit down over the course of the next 2 months and I'm going to show them how to write an effective email to increase their open rates and their ROI. Right? So I'm going to show them how to dive deep and, you know, foster that personal narrative that they created when they first started working with their clients.
That's interesting. So, and just an interesting topic on the email marketing, because I see agents send out emails all the time.
Yeah.
And obviously a lot of it's templated, some they do themselves. And a lot get really worried about like the graphics that are in them. How much design do you put in your email marketing?
None, man. It's fucking plain text all the way. And keep in mind, I've tested this shit out to death, right? All of last year, we would send out these really nice looking templated emails that come in the center of your so I run Gmail, so that email that I would send out would have a really nice banner. It would come in the center of your email platform, have a really nice email signature with the face and all of the contact information and the logo and all that stuff. And I got to a point where I was like, this looks templated. This looks like I'm sending this from sort of an email program. Yeah. I want the people that I'm targeting to feel like I just on the fly picked up my phone and went bop, send. Yeah. That's what I wanted, right? And that's where we saw the shift in our open rates. So from the agent's perspective, we all of last year, our trend line was around 25 to about 28%. That's what we were generating in terms of open rates on a list that started at about 5,500 people. That's now been whittled down to about 3,000 because of opt-outs and bounces and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Which is great. This is the other thing. You want people to unsubscribe from your email list. Not necessarily your past clients, but if they do unsubscribe, it's a great opportunity for you to pick up the phone and go, John, it's Kelley. What's going on, man? You unsubscribed from my email list. What's up? Oh, dude, sorry, it was a mistake, right? I don't know if you know this, but on Apple email, when you open up your phone, if it comes from a list, at the top of that email, it says to unsubscribe, click here, right? So there's a lot of people that hit that button probably by accident.
Now, how many would be telling you it's by accident?
I don't know.
Versus,
yeah,
they just don't like confrontation.
I have no idea. It doesn't matter because I'm going to put them back on the list anyways. Like, I just went and resubscribed like 30 people off of I'm like, no, you're not getting away that easy. I sold you house. You're going to listen to me.
You're hooked.
That's right. So going back to your question, so we got rid of all of the templates. I got rid of the headers. I went to the email shifting to the left-hand sidebar of the actual email. By Canadian laws, we have to have an unsubscribe button somewhere within the body of the email. We're using Fusionsoft, and so it allows you to put blocks in. You know, you can put video in, you can put an image, you can put more text. There's also a box that you can put in for a spacer. So I put a couple of spacers in between the body of the email and the unsubscribe button to push the unsubscribe button below the fold of the email. So when people are opening up on their desktop, they don't even see the unsubscribe button. It's just a little hack there.
Yeah. Well, so what's interesting is with Gmail now, that doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't.
Because now they've built that right in, or just an auto unsubscribe.
That's right.
Which is interesting.
Yeah, and you know the other thing with Gmail is they've got a button on there that says display images. Mm-hmm. Outlook, I think, has the same thing. So, you know, unless the email content is compelling, I'm never clicking that display images button.
Yeah.
Ever.
Maybe with a listing there'd be a reason.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, just every email we ever send out, plain text email. I always wanted to look. The closest thing we have to an image is the built-in signature that comes in.
Right.
It's my headshot.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Nothing else. It's just very basic. Here's the information. Here's a link to go get it.
Right.
And it's just like open rates for us now, like our emailing list, which is in the thousands, like we're anywhere depending on the campaign itself. Subject line is our biggest differentiator. Yep. 60 to sometimes 90% open rates.
Right.
And that's crazy.
It is.
Yeah, no, they're more closer to the 60. The odd one gets up to 90, but
yeah,
it's
The industry average is around 15 to 18% according to Mailchimp, right? So you're absolutely like 6 times the industry average, right?
But a lot of that too, I think, at least with us, is like we've never just added someone to a mailing list.
Right.
Like and even with the way the Castle works, because like even like what I'm doing is more B2B, so I have a little more leniency.
Yeah.
Like I go train at a brokerage, everyone gives me their card.
Yeah.
I email them. They don't get added to the email list.
Right.
They still separately have to come opt into that mailing list.
Right.
And I think that's why for us we have a really high open rate, is because we like you have to request basically to join. It's the same with like my Facebook group, The Wheelhouse.
Yeah.
We don't, unless I'm like, for instance, like if I was talking about you and you weren't in the group, I might add you so you could actually be part of the conversation about you.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And I've done that a few, like with BombBomb. There's a whole thread on BombBomb. I know some of the guys there pretty well, so I added them in to talk. Otherwise, request only. Because nothing's more annoying than just being automatically added to stuff.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
It's frustrating. And what's interesting with like, I don't know how much you pay attention to like Mailchimp. When you unsubscribe from Mailchimp, it actually tells you the name of the list.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
And do you know how many times I'll unsubscribe and it's like LinkedIn contacts?
Yeah.
Some are like scraped Facebook group.
Yeah. Oh,
you're like,
man.
Come on,
guys, don't
be better
do
than that.
Just stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like, and I get people reaching out to me being like, hey, like I'm in this Facebook group. Is there a way to get everyone's email address so I can email them? I'm like, yes, but one, you'll get kicked off Facebook if they find out.
Yeah.
And that's the wrong way to go about it. It's like, it's that black hat versus white hat techniques that are
really
out there, right? Like, black hat techniques work short term. And you can get a really good ROI, but you're not in the business long term at that point.
That's right.
But if you do the white hat, like you do the good type of marketing, you can be around for a long time. Like when Facebook makes change, like the recent ones they've announced, hasn't affected my business or my clients.
Right.
Because we're doing everything in a way that we know, like, you know what Facebook wants from your content. And I feel like if you provide that, that's like kind of your North Star of, they want good, valuable content. Let's just go that route.
Right.
And don't worry about all that other, little tips and tricks to hack things together.
Yeah. Yeah.
You'll always be fine.
That's right.
And I think that's where a lot of people spend way too much time just trying to like game the algorithm. Like,
yeah, God, I've lost count of how many times I've been added to an email list from an agent in my own market that I'm not friends with on Facebook, that I don't follow on Instagram, that I'm not following on Twitter or anything like that. Yet I'm part of their contacts on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Right. So like as an agent in Calgary, or in Markham, or in Saskatoon, or in Vancouver, why are you marketing to other agents if you're not a broker, right? Trying to build a business, trying to build a brokerage. Like, I know that you've just scraped some sort of social network and you've added me to your shitty list for your shitty templated, crappy content email. Like, stop that too, okay, please. It's, it's silliness. And anybody, any SEO or any guru that tells you that this is the way to go, they're wrong. They're wrong. Act as if you wouldn't want that done to you, right?
That's the easiest way to be like, this is the right tactic. Would I be okay if someone did that to me?
Right. Act as if you're one of the top programmers at Facebook. Right? Is this the type of content that Facebook would want me pushing out, or is this the type of content that I'm going to get penalized for?
Exactly.
Right? Like, act as if.
Yeah.
It applies in every aspect of life, but especially in digital marketing realm.
Yeah, I guess you literally apply it to anything. Like that's why, like when I started, I was door knocking. I'm like, I hate it. And like the big one for me when I stopped door knocking, besides that I wasn't getting a ton of results, like I got a little bit here and there, is someone came to my door one time, and as soon as that door, I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
I don't want to answer that. And I was like, wait, why am I doing it?
Yeah, I have the Ring doorbell.
Yeah.
And so when somebody rings my doorbell, this happens all the time, dude. Census takers, the worst. They come at right at 6:30, right after I'm done eating dinner, and I'm helping my wife clean up the kitchen, and the kids are upstairs getting showered and cleaned up and ready for bed, and somebody's knocking or ringing the doorbell, and so I just look at my phone on the app, and it's like, hello? Because I can answer the door through the doorbell, right? And they're like, census taker, oh, sorry, we're busy, come back tomorrow, right? And they come back tomorrow. Hello? Sorry, you caught us at a bad time. Come back tomorrow. So it's, dude, like, I don't know. I think there's, as far as a door knocking is, perspective, I do think that there's a time and a place for it. I try to do it in my own neighborhood.
There's definitely some value to it.
Yeah, if you're doing some geo farming, you've got to do the door knocking to support the geo farming. Yeah. That's what a lot of people don't understand. I'm not I was doing geofarming in my own neighborhood. It was costing me like $300 or $400 a month. I wound up generating a listing out of it, sale out of it, which was great. So it paid for the entire year and then some. But at the end of the day, it wasn't something that I just couldn't get out of bed for. Right? Even though I was doing the geofarming, I just didn't want to go knock on doors. There's a couple of properties in my neighborhood that have expired, and I know full well they're probably going to list this year. Should I be knocking on their door? Yeah, probably. Am I going to? No. I just don't want it bad enough, I guess. I don't know. That's what Grant Cardone would tell me, right?
Yeah, get out there.
Get out there, right? You don't want it. You're not hungry enough. I'm like, dude, I'm hungry enough. I'm just hungry in a different way. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, I would much rather sit down and craft the absolute perfect email that's going to generate me a 70 or 80% open rate, where I get like 7 or 8 or 10 people replying back to that email saying, hey, I got that email and I'm going to definitely try out that thing that you said, or I'm going to try out that restaurant that you recommended, or whatever. I'd much rather have that, because that's a better use of my time than going out freezing my nads off and knocking on doors and bugging people where they're just going to answer their phone with their fucking, or phone door with their fucking phone, and it's like, sorry dude, I'm busy, go away. Right? Not interested.
An interesting side of the marketing, do you guys do any text message based marketing?
No. We have the ability to do it from the back end of Boomtown. All of our agents have that ability. I do believe that one of Boomtown's new innovations this year, Sync has had this for years. Sync is Commissions Inc. They've had this for years, is the ability to mass text. I look at mass texting the same way as that crappy templated content email that you're sending out, right? It's you're spamming the shit out of people.
But even like, you might have to figure out the right way to do it from a personalized standpoint. If you could figure out that way to do it, would you
like
use
this.
the text? So you do video?
Video text all day.
Yeah.
All day.
So you do text-based marketing?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so I had this is a good example. Now I haven't had a reply yet, but I had a meeting. It was a referral to a guy that's looking to sell his house in Airdrie, and went out, did the meeting, walked into his house. It was freezing cold because the heat was turned off, and it was colder inside the house than it was outside. So we wound up having to leave, so I couldn't go through the whole spiel with him, but I did have the CMA, sent it over to him. I didn't hear back for a couple of days. I sent him a quick text, hey, what's up? Yada, yada, yada. And then I sent him a video text a few days after that. Now I haven't heard back from that, but it's a great opportunity for that person on the other end to realize that I'm a real person. I'm a human being, and I'm trying to connect with you on this personal level where I'm trying to help you achieve your goals, right? I'm not there to try to sell you on something. Therefore, I'm not just going to continually mass text you. Hey, John, it's Kelly from Redline here. Just curious, have you bought or sold a home yet? Like, I mean, get personal with it. Is it going to take more time? Fuck yes, of course it is. But anything worth doing is going to take time, right? If it's part of your marketing, go do it. I mean, you have a much greater, like I had lunch with Jeff Thibodeau today. So he came in from Brantford. I had a big box I had to lug through the frickin' airport for him, full of water bottles and coffee mugs and stuff like that. I dropped it like 8 times coming through the airport.
He's got like 4 mugs left.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. He actually gave me a really nice button. That was my present, so a red line button. Anyway, so him and I went for lunch today, and he did he did a video text marketing webinar and training for his agents in-house in Brantford. And it was a full-on workshop. Like, they had to come prepared, ready to shoot some video. So he talked about it. He helped some of the agents that were having problems with shooting video on their phone. He, tech supported those issues, got it up and running for them. And then it was like, okay, break off, go find a corner of the office, and I want you to send 3 video text message to 3 of your clients that you haven't talked to in a long time.
Yeah.
Right? And so now he's getting his agents to do the things that he's talking about in a workshop type format, as opposed to just this high level theory. I think this can work, but he's showing them how it can work. Yeah. Right, and how they're actually going to generate some return on investment.
Well, that's the biggest issue with training. Like, because I obviously have a big background in real estate training, and like I still do it now, not to the same degree, but we do it.
Yeah,
is the implementation side of it.
It is, yeah.
I know if I know there's 100 people in a room.
Yeah. That
probably the best case scenario is 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Like, there'll probably be a large group that try it, but like, it's like dabbling.
Yeah.
There's best case 2 or 3 who are going to take it to heart.
Yeah.
I think that's like Danny Wood and I, for example. If you guys don't know who Danny Wood is, you should look him up.
Good dude.
We started like doing hands-on workshops.
Yeah.
Because we're like, and that like the idea of those, like you have to have it up and running and working before you leave.
Right.
Otherwise, they're not doing it.
Yeah.
And that's like, and I love conferences. Like conferences like this is great, like, especially today, where a lot of the presentations that come up was really great about like where's the industry going.
Right.
And like tomorrow you learn a lot of strategies and tactics, but you still need that hands-on help for a lot of people. Like I know I'm a bit of an anomaly where like I can take it and I just run and implement it.
Right.
But I'm pretty like tech savvy with a lot of this stuff, so it's easy for me to do that.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of people, especially if they haven't been, online as long, like I basically grew up with it.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit different. So
execution is always the hardest part, right?
Yeah.
I've said this for a long time. I don't even know where I heard this. I don't know. Maybe I made it up. If I made it up, you're welcome. Anybody that's using this, but ideas are shit without execution.
I believe that's Gary Vee.
It very well could be, right? Very well could be. I mean,
Probably about 100 other people too. But.
Yeah, it's 100% true
Yeah.
though. I mean, you can go to these conferences all day long and get all kinds of great ideas and jot notes down in your notebook, but dude, at the end of the day, if you're not going to execute on the ideas that you just took down, why in the hell are you spending money going to a conference?
Yeah.
What's the point?
I was even talking with someone actually just a couple days ago, and that's what we were talking about with conferences was they took a break from conferences for a year.
Right.
Like, we go to 5, 6, 7, 8 conferences
Yeah.
a year. I have all these notes.
Yeah.
Never done anything with them.
Exactly.
So this year, no conferences. We're going to go through those notes one by one and just start implementing.
Yeah, so let's talk about that for a sec. One of the great strategies that I have implemented, and I did the same thing. I pulled back from conferences all of last year. I didn't go to one conference last year. I think I went to 2 or 3 the year before that. I was supposed to go to a conference last year, the Banff Western Connection, but then I wound up having to go to the hospital and I yanked my gallbladder out. So that was a whole different story. But, as far as conferences go, it's really important for you to have a strategy before you go, right? And so you're going to hit the sessions that you want to hit that you feel are going to be really beneficial to you and your business. You're going to take a ridiculous amount of notes. You're going to listen. You're going to try to connect with the speaker, right? If you can connect with the speaker and ask them questions down the road, I'm sure that I'd be more than happy to answer anybody's questions that would email me or send me a quick text message. Hey, what about this? What about that? No problem. I'll get back to you absolutely 100%. But then after the conference is done and you've taken all the notes, put the notes down for a few days. Allow your brain just to decompress, because this is the thing. You go to this conference and you got all these notes and you've got all of these great ideas and they're swimming in your head and you can't sleep because you're so fucking fired up. You want to just take all of these ideas and implement them all right away, and then all of a sudden this feeling of overwhelm takes over and you're not going to do anything, right? You're going to be so overwhelmed by the amount of notes that you've got with the amount of ideas that you have, and you have no idea where to start. So it's important for you to put that shit down, walk away from it for a few days, regroup, decompress, reload, come back, open those notes up, and then be really dialed in and execute on one thing at a time.
Yeah.
Put it into a plan and only execute on one thing at a time. Because if you start to try to execute on a dozen different things, again, you're going to wind up in overwhelm. That's right.
Yeah.
You're just going to do a shitty job, or you're just going to wind up in overwhelm and nothing's going to get done.
Yeah. Like I like to prioritize, because I obviously go to a lot of conferences too, is like I like to make a list and prioritize everything I've heard. This is number 1 for me.
Right.
I don't move to number 2 until it's checked off, unless number 2 would affect number 1.
Right.
Otherwise, you don't
Strategic.
end up doing it. Yeah, you have to do it that way.
Yeah.
Then the other side of conferences, what I want to talk about, is the networking side.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that's one where, because I talk to a lot of agents, and I find, especially because I talk to a lot of younger agents as well, and maybe I find that people who've been in business longer do it a little bit better. Younger agents, they go to a lot of conferences, but then don't network.
Right.
Like they just kind of like go head down, take their notes and leave.
Yeah.
And I think they're missing out on one of the biggest advantages of these conferences is actually going and talking to people. Like there's just as much value at the lobby bar sometimes.
There really is.
As there is at the actual conference itself.
Yeah, and that that's the thing, is that you're going to these real estate conferences, you're connecting with realtors from different parts of the country, and what's the goal here? Mm-hmm. Is the goal to network and to generate a referral-based business out of these agents? Okay, great. If that's the goal, what kind of value are you going to display to those agents that you're going to probably wind up putting on an email list at some point. We did OREA Emerge back in 2015. I wound up with 300 agents on my email list, right? And I think I still have like 270 people that have not unsubscribed yet. I continually hit that list with really good, useful, valuable content. And as a result, I don't know if I generated referrals from that list specifically, but I can tell you 8 transactions last year came from referrals from other agents in other parts of the country. And that's part and parcel because I've spoken across the country before, but a large part of it is because I'm strategic with it. I go with intention, and I have a plan in place to enhance the agent's experience after the conference, right? If I can provide some sort of value to that agent, I'm more than likely to get that referral from that agent in Burlington as opposed to, somebody else in Calgary that they don't know. They're going to post in some group asking for a referral to Calgary, right? So if you're going to a conference and you're going to network, A, how are you going to stand out? B, how are you going to provide value? And C, what is your true intention of going to these networking events at these conferences in different parts of the country? Is it to just generate referrals and repeat or referral business from these agents? Great. How are you going to do that? Because I can tell you, if you stick them on your email list with your crappy templated content, you're not getting anything.
About 7 mistakes for winterizing your home.
Yeah, exactly. Like, God, please. Realtors are going to unsubscribe. Like I continually get.
Steal it.
Yeah, or steal it. Yeah, oh God, please don't do that. Mattamy Homes added me. I emailed Mattamy Homes twice yesterday.
No.
Like last night when I was on the plane, I got 2 emails from them from different people at the same company for different neighborhoods, and I emailed them both back because they didn't have an unsubscribe button on their email. I emailed them both back and said, take me off your list. I don't know where they got my contact info from. Probably the internets. Right, they found me on there somewhere, and they scraped my info and put me on their shitty list. And one guy actually got back to me. He's like, "Yeah, okay, no problem. I'll remove you from the list. Thanks for letting me know." And that's the other thing. If you get added to a list, don't be a dick. Like, don't email the person and go, "What the fuck? Like, how did you get my information, you dickhead?" Like, just kindly remove me from your list.
Sometimes mistakes do happen. Like,
yeah,
it could just I remember actually happened with one of my lists. Lucky it was only like 20 people in that section. But we moved over from Drip to Infusionsoft. And at one point, I guess because they actually had, if you get Infusionsoft, obviously you get an expert who helps you.
Yeah.
When they moved it over, they misclassified one small group of 20 as permission to market on my regular mailing list.
Right.
And when an email went out, obviously I got the reply from one of them, which for 20 people, even getting one reply is still somewhat surprising, but he's basically what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
And he was even just I'm gonna report you. And I'm like, I'm gonna look into what happened. And I actually followed him. Here's exactly what happened, and my apologies.
Yeah.
But when you do that with purposely, it's brutal.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. If the mistake happens, own it. Apologize. Don't let it happen again.
Right. And if you say you're gonna look into it, actually look into it. I can't even remember how many times I've seen those mistakes happen, and someone's like, I'm gonna look into what happened. You never hear from them again.
Ever.
And that's just the end of it.
Yeah.
But it's part of the fun.
Yeah. All right, man. What else you want to talk about?
Good question. You want to talk about your brokerage a little bit more, or Zillow? We can talk Zillow.
Oh yeah.
So you want to talk that, or
I thought we were gonna see some heads explode in that meeting room today.
He did a fucking good job.
Oh yeah.
Zillow. I will hand it to Errol.
Yeah. He did.
Well played, sir.
Yeah, I was on the Twitter today. I tweeted 7 times.
In how long?
Yeah, almost 2 years, I think, without some sort of automated thing that goes out when I'm doing a podcast. But so I tweeted today, and I had mentioned the fact that it is. I can see how agents that don't know really a whole lot about the industry and who Zillow is and where they're going and where they came from, I can see why they would think they were moving towards becoming a brokerage. Look, there isn't a shit ton of money in being a brokerage, okay? There just isn't. These guys made $1 billion. Was it last quarter or last year? $1 billion in revenue. They hit it for the first time in they've been in existence for 12 years, and they hit $1 billion. How did they do that? They did that by agents buying ad space.
Yeah.
That's how they did it.
They're not giving that up.
They're not giving that up. I'm sorry to tell you. And that $1 billion is not going to go, it's not going to shrink. It's just going to go up from here. It's going to continue to grow. So, but the great thing is that they've got this crazy suite of products that could very well not necessarily supplant the brokerage to a degree of, they're going to take on all the liability and all of that stuff that the brokerage is there for, but they could very well wind up supplanting the brokerage in exactly what Gary Keller was talking about in his address at KWFR last week, and that was, his whole thing were these bolt-on technologies and allowing, or the agents are allowing these bolt-on technologies access to their data, and why don't they want to own their own data? Mm-hmm. Well, Zillow is moving towards that. They already did that with the acquisitions of .loop 2 years ago, right? So it's a big data play. It really is. And the more data, the more information that, like Facebook, for example, like how many times have you guys talked about a product on Amazon? Just talked about it. Yeah. Not searched anything, just talked about it. And you open up Facebook and there's a fucking ad from Amazon hitting you for that product. Do you think that's by mistake? That's by design, guys.
Exactly what we do for people.
Exactly right. It's not a mistake. It's by design, and so that's where we're headed with this whole thing. It's big data. Zillow is going to be around for a long time. They will come to Canada. 100%. It's going to be an uphill battle. I firmly believe this. I posted this in the Inman group here just this afternoon. 98 different member boards in Canada. Yeah. CREA will not give up the data. Look at what they had to do to create the shitty DDF that we have, right? They are not, and Zillow doesn't want the DDF feed. They're not going to have it. They don't want it. So what's the alternative? They are going to have to go to 98 different member boards, sign 98 different agreements if they can get them.
They're going to go brokerage by brokerage.
Probably are, and that's probably where they're going to wind up, because the pushback that they're going to get from the average agent age of Canadian realtors of between 56 and 60 years old, where the majority of that age group are on the member board, so they're on the board of directors, and they've got this old school mentality with this gatekeeper type mentality of, it's our data, you can't have access to it. Right? That's the battle that they're going to fight. And if they're going to fight that battle, you're absolutely right. The next step down is to go to the brokerage level and say, hey guys, can we get your data feed?
Where I'm not worried at all about Zillow.
Neither am I.
Even they're competing with ad spend for
Calgary, lineup starts right here for postal codes. Yeah. All you Calgarians out there, all you realtors, lineup starts right here.
Yeah. So where I would say there's a bigger threat would be Amazon. Mm-hmm. Because they're already doing everything else for people.
Yeah.
And so like Zillow, you start there when you're looking for a home.
Mm-hmm.
With Amazon, they'll know when you're going to go buy a home based on your spending on other stuff.
That's right.
And if they can now incorporate that data,
yeah,
they're going to get you before you've ever looked at Zillow.
That's right.
Like I think if anyone would ever cut out the agent,
yeah,
it would be a company like Amazon.
Right.
Where they can cut way before that transaction ever happens.
Yeah.
That's what I'd be worried about. And there was that little, I don't know if you remember, that URL that was real estate related, and they pulled it off really quick.
Yeah, I did a podcast around that.
Yeah.
The whole idea of the Amazonization, whatever.
Yeah, we're done with the Ubers.
Yeah, the Amazoning of and Zillowing and Facebooking of the real estate industry, and I actually mentioned that. What happened to Zillow stock when that URL was posted up on, or that page was posted up on Amazon's website? Zillow stock took a tumble of like 2 to 4%, which is a huge number. Like it was hundreds of millions of dollars that they lost.
It's that big of a deal.
Like that.
Like Amazon could be the biggest disruptor.
Yeah, I agree.
Like I don't know if there's another company out there. Like I don't even think Facebook. I think Facebook is good, mm-hmm. and they could, but I don't think they ever would. No, Amazon would.
They don't have the ability to take it direct to the consumer, right?
But Facebook has the data.
Sure, they do.
They would probably be able to better predict than anyone else when you're going to move.
Yeah, probably could.
I would guess that, but I don't think they have what Amazon has to get that done.
Right.
And that's where I wouldn't be worried about Zillow.
Yeah.
So I think Zillow wants agents just to do better. They're just offering them a venue to do it.
That's right.
Amazon, why do they need agents?
Yeah, exactly. If they can go direct to consumer,
Yeah.
you know, they see your buying habits. You're all buying towels and you're buying, you know, soaps and you're buying furniture and you're buying this and that and the other thing. Their data analytics are going to look at that and go, there's a very high probability, probably in the 70 percentile range, that this person and their spouse are looking at purchasing a home. I'm going to hit them with an ad, and if they click on it and it takes them to this landing page, now I've got that information, it's verified, and they're going to go from there and they're going to say, hey, do you want to search for a house on Amazon?
Yep.
Right? And now they're searching for fucking towels that are going to fit that bathroom at the same time.
Yeah.
Right? And so then they find that house, and then what's going to happen next, right? They're going to hit that button, and it isn't going to be a contact agent button. It's going to be a contact homeowner button.
Meet someone there in an hour.
That's right.
Yeah.
Direct to consumer.
Well, even if they do have agents, they'll reduce their role. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if it's similar to like Amazon Prime delivery, where it's like you can get a package in an hour. You could meet an agent at the house in the next hour.
Yeah.
And they just have people waiting.
As a you know, as a part owner in a brokerage and you know, somebody that's looking to scale and you know, get big across the country, that's scary as shit to me.
Yeah.
But it's also exciting from a consumer's perspective where, damn, like so Amazon they could own the whole thing from beginning to end. They could own the mortgage brokerage side, which is also scary because we own a mortgage brokerage as well, right? So they could start from right from the very beginning, from when you're buying those towels for that bathroom to where you're seeing that house on Amazon, you're clicking that link. Now you've got to get pre-approved before you can go and look at that. Are you pre-approved? Yes, no.
Yeah.
No, click here, boom, done. Put you in touch with a mortgage broker. That's probably one area that will probably never go away as part of the transaction. Right now they've got the mortgage in place. Now they go back to that property, they click contact seller. The seller gets a message saying, hey, John and Sally want to come and have a look at the house. Within an hour, boom, they're going to go do that. Either an agent is going to be there to show them that property and facilitate the transaction for a massively reduced fee. No longer are we going to be able to charge at 6% or 5% or exactly right. Free for Amazon Prime members, right? $120 a year or whatever it is. That's exciting, man.
Yeah.
That's exciting. I'd be excited about that if I was a consumer.
Where the industry going. Like, there's definitely going to be massive disruption in the next 10 years.
Yeah.
But it's fun.
It is.
Like, I
absolutely.
really get. There's definitely going to be people who are going to be pissed off.
Yeah.
There will definitely be people who leave the industry, but to be fair, the industry could use a little less agents.
That's right. Yeah, it could use a little kick in the pants to, you know, and this is probably the way that things will eventually go. I'm not saying tomorrow. I'm not saying 18 months from now. I'm not saying 5 years from now. I'm saying probably at some point.
Yeah.
You know, half of the web is built on Amazon platform.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it stands. There's good reason for us to, you know, to kind of project forward and look at this and go, there's a very real possibility that this could happen. And that to me is exciting from a consumer standpoint. Brokerage owner, not so much.
But I think, like, similar to, like, look at travel agents, right? Like, that industry got decimated.
Sure.
But there's still very successful travel agents out there.
Oh, yeah.
Because they provide high-level services that there's only so much you can get from machine learning and all that. Like, there is eventually a point where if the complexity of what you're doing probably needs a person.
Yeah.
And I think, like, there's travel, like, I know a travel agent who, she still is very successful and has been for 30 years because she does, like, Caribbean weddings and very complex, like, I want to go to, like, 8 different places in Europe.
Right.
In my own way with rental cars at each spot and, like, all this. That'll be hard to do yourself, like, on Expedia.
Yeah. I booked this flight on Expedia. Like, very simple. Toronto, red eye, wouldn't recommend it ever again, but very simple. Boom, done. I'm not going to hire a travel agent for that. When we take our family and our kids to Europe, when the kids turn 12, so in like 3 or 4 years from now, when we take them to Europe, that will be a travel agent planned excursion because it's going to be expensive, and I am not going to be tasked with, you know, planning that vacation. I just
hitting all those points that can properly.
No, that's craziness to me. Just like it's craziness to me where at this point right now, where, you know, a buyer will go out and purchase a property through the listing agent. I think that's absolute craziness. My neighbor, they're probably never ever going to watch this, especially if we get to this point. You know, we're like 40 minutes, almost an hour into this conversation. You know, they're probably, so my neighbors, I started working with them like last year or a year and a half ago, showing them properties, and next thing you know, like in January it was, I guess, I get a text from my neighbor going, hey, you had mentioned that you might be interested in buying our house. was wondering if you and Sabrina want to come over and have a look at it. We bought a townhouse and we're going to be moving. And I'm like, what? What do you mean you bought it? I texted back, I'm like, what do you mean you bought a townhouse? I don't remember writing the deal for you, right? Well, they walked into an open house. They didn't buy that property, but the agent that was on duty had another property that she was going to list that was off market, and they went and bought that. Through the agent that was representing both the seller and the buyer and the trend. That part of the industry scares the shit out of me. So, in Alberta, we found ways around that with facilitation and getting away from dual agency and representation and that sort of thing. I can definitely see it going that route. Right, and that pushing that button, and that agent is there, and they're the one that facilitates all of the paperwork. I mean, you could do that at a greatly reduced fee in comparison to a lawyer. A lawyer is going to charge you probably $3,000, $4,000, or $5,000 to prep all the docs, right? Because they're going to want their pound of flesh as opposed to the $1,500 that they're going to charge you for just the closing. They're going to look at it and go, oh, there's no realtor involved in this? Okay, so we've gone from $1,500 for the closing to $5,000 because there's no agent involved and I can charge you.
Yeah.
Right? Hey, I'd be doing it too.
Might as well.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to talk about?
Well, the beer's dry, so I think we're done.
Sounds good to me. Thanks for tuning in. This is Kelley Skar on Over A Pint. And tune in for more episodes coming, and check out Kelley and Red Line Real Estate to see what they're up to.